Hi guys, I hope you're really well. No, I'm not going to do this in French and English. I'm just going to do this in English to make this as quick as possible and really useful. So this is a video which is absolutely clearly and cleanly outlining what you need to do when you are reading French to improve your vocabulary and your grammar. It's absolutely the techniques that you need to use to learn the French language as quickly as possible from reading. Okay, so this is dedicated to my lovely and dear friend Sandy, who has conquered grammar, who's conquered verb tenses largely, and who is ready to move up to this stage. So here's how it works. No one cares less about whether or not you understand what the French means in English. That's not the end goal. That is a question of copy-paste, sticking it in Google Translate, and there you go. 95% of the time, Google Translate will give you a serviceable definition of what you're reading. So that's not the end goal. The end goal is not comprehension. Don't carry on, don't turn the page, don't go to the next bit if you've understood it. That's not the point. The point is that who's ever used copy-paste in word processing? When you copy-paste something, it's all very relevant and there right now, but then you copy-paste something else and it's gone, or if it's on your copy-paste board or whatever. Or if you don't understand what I'm saying, it's about we don't want something in your short-term memory, we want it in your long-term memory. So if you've just heard me say a word, or you've just read a word, or you've just read the translation of the word, or you've just read the word in a subtitle on Netflix, or you've done whatever you want to do, then the word feels terribly up front and center in your brain. You think you're not going to forget it, but you will. You will only remember the French you have spoken. I will say again, you will only remember the French you have spoken. One more time, you will only remember the French you have spoken. So you need to be saying everything that you're reading, but we have a little system. So this is how it's going to generally work. If it's a new noun for you, you need to be creating a sentence with that noun in. Now, it could be incredibly simple. So if it were something like you come across the word for whatever, bathrobe, dressing gown, whatever, peignoir, robe de chambre. We don't need a fancy ass sentence. You could literally, I always say you can get away with most nouns practicing with the verbs il y a, there is, or j'ai acheté, I have bought. So I would like two sentences straight away, very quickly with the noun. So if you've just read a story and it says, whatever, the dressing gown, the bathrobe, robe de chambre, peignoir, so you go straight away, right, there is a dressing gown, il y a une robe de chambre, there's a bathrobe, j'ai acheté une robe de chambre. Just literally two sentences straight away with you using, and now you might just go, but Luke, I've just read out loud, I'm doing what you're telling me, I'm reading out loud on all my reading. That isn't you creating it. It might seem totally silly, but you coming up with another sentence with the word straight away is using a different part of your brain, okay? It feels very similar, it feels in parallel, but it is not, okay? So if you read some text and it had some story and it said, okay, ibu, and ibu is an owl, okay? Probably quite an onomatopoeic word, you know, like a word which sounds like the noise it makes kind of thing, because ibu sounds like a bit like a hoo-hoo, like an owl, yeah? Fine, there's an owl. Il y a un hibou. We probably wouldn't say, I'm going to buy an owl or something like that. You never know. Fine, je vais acheter un hibou. But basically, you just need to come up with two different sentences, okay? If you come across a new verb, what do you do with a new verb? Exactly the same thing. You are going to come up with two sentences. Now, normally, if it's just an a verb, I say go one j'ai plus verb, one with je vais plus verb. So, for example, if I came across the word essuyer, to wipe, in a text, in a translation, so j'ai essuyé, je vais essuyer. You can obviously add a noun on the end if it makes it more relevant to you. J'ai essuyé la table, I wiped the table. Je vais essuyer la table. That is the word for wipe. Fine. So, again, just come up with two as a minimum, okay? If you come up with if you come across in some text, and we're going to go through some examples in a moment of how this works, if you come across a compound. Now, let me explain to you what a compound is. So the word compound is thrown around a great deal. Compound verbs is a way we talk about what I call auxiliary verbs, which are verbs which have a bit of something in the middle from have or be. So in other words, more than one word coming together to give you a verb tense. So for example, il a mangé, il avait mangé, il aura mangé. They are known formally as les formes composées. But what I mean is a compound an expression or a phrasal verb, okay, is a series of words which together mean another, have another meaning. So the way you know if it's a phrasal is if you were given absolutely every single word in French, suddenly uploaded into your brain. How marvellous an idea would that be? If you were translating literally, if the French words you are using are not what the English would be, then that is a compound and you need to learn it. For example, to be careful, faire attention. We don't say être and then a careful. We say faire attention, to do attention, to make attention, rather than to pay attention, for example. So that is a compound. That is something you need to learn. I resent him. Je lui en veux. I to him of it want. Oh, there you go. That's something that's a compound. I need to learn that expression. To be part of. Faire partie de. To make up part of in French. So anything that doesn't match the English is a compound. You need to learn that as a little, that expression means to do that. Sometimes it'll be a compound in French for a single word in English. Sometimes it'll be, a phrasal verb in English. That'll be a single verb in French. Or sometimes it'll be, to get along with, to get on well with, phrasal verb in English, s'entendre bien avec in French. So it's phrasal verb meets phrasal verb. So what do you do when you come across a phrasal verb? Well, it's exactly the same thing. So here's how a phrasal verb can really, really, really make its way into the absolute recesses of your little brains. And I don't mean that patronizingly, I just mean as in the real tiny little parts where it's never going to normally reach. So, if you have a phrasal verb, notice all phrasal verbs basically have a really basic verb in the middle of them. Same as in English, if you think about it. Get on, get over, get across, get along with. Come up, come down, come over. Yeah? Come on. If they consisted of a more interesting verb in the middle, they probably wouldn't need to be a phrasal. Yeah, it's really simple and very common verbs that will often gain the accessories, on either side. Same in French. So you listen to these phrasals and you'd notice the verb in them. To be part of. Faire partie de. What's the verb in the middle? Faire. Avoir chaud. To be warm. What's the verb? Avoir. No problem. Je lui en veux. I resent him. What's the verb? Veut. Vouloir. Basic verb. Yeah. S'en prendre à quelqu'un, to kind of get up and angry, to deal with it with somebody, to take it out on someone. What's the verb? Prendre. They're vague. So in other words, you look at the verb and you go, I only need to change the verb. I only need to change the tense of the verb. I don't need to play with the other ingredients. So I will pop a video under this video which is about using dictionary compounds and to learn how to basically use an interesting infinitive and to make sentences out of it. But basically then in your reading, if you come across something where you've got a phrasal verb going on, faire la queue, to queue up. Faire. So you just go, right, what are two different tenses of faire? J'ai fait, je ferai. I have done, I will do. So j'ai fait la queue, I queued up. I waited in line. Je ferai la queue. I will wait in line. So that is what we will do with phrasals. We'll practice them that way. If they're reflexives, if they're ABCs, phrasals, s'entendre bien avec, you know how to handle an ABC verb. If you don't, I will pop the link underneath. Again, it's exactly the same thing, okay? So you need to practice it in two tenses. If that means going on wordreference.com and going onto the conjugator, so be it. I will pop that link underneath, all right? So far we've talked about nouns, we've talked about verbs, we've talked about phrasal verbs. Adverbs, okay? Adverbs. Bien, beaucoup, déjà, this kind of thing, okay? So they need practicing. Two sentences. If it's an adverb you're not used to using, I strongly recommend you create that in a sentence. Yeah, that's a great thing to practice, okay? Largely, if you're working your way through a sentence and you spot a preposition. So if you're working your way through a sentence and you go, okay, so that isn't the preposition that I would have used. I would have used a, that's a de. Obviously say it a couple of times, change the tense a couple of times. So it's basically about changing it into two other situations. Then we have what's called change one thing, which is even if you understand it, even if you understand it, then I want you to change one thing about the sentence. So if you read the sentence, Luc gave me a rose, Luc m'a donné une rose, just go, Luc had given me a rose, Luc m'avait donné une rose. Luc gave us a rose, Luc nous a donné une rose, okay? Luc nous a donné une rose if we said it normally. So change one thing on the sentences that you know, change one thing. And that shows me that you understand it. Okay, so we're now going to go and have a look at some, I've just chosen VIDS because as you know, I think it's a really good source of comedy French, nice little anecdotes, and we're going to go through and I'm going to talk about this method and this practice that I want you to use. Bear one thing in mind, if you are getting quite comfortable in your French, if you don't actually know how to read the French out loud anyway, then I will also attach underneath the video that is called the reading rules, which is basically how to pronounce words beautifully. So Sandy, for example, has got an absolutely exquisite, she's very explicit. She's got an exquisite pronunciation of vowels. She's now learnt to join it all up, and she's now ready for the next stage where she's focusing on which words she pronounces. So again, I'll attach another video underneath, which is the video on which words we stress when we speak. So for those of you who are coming up the ranks, a really good thing to do is to read your text, read sentence by sentence, make sure you've got all the vowels in place, but do try and focus on the adjectives and the nouns in the sentence. Do try and give it a little bit of weight. So we don't want, je vais lui parler avec sa mère. I'm going to speak to him with his mother. Je vais lui parler avec sa mère. Whatever. We want it to sound accurate. We want it to sound like which words do we stress, which words we don't. That isn't the most important thing when you're a beginner, but it's certainly really important as you're working your way up the ranks, because otherwise you will get used to hearing certain words said too slowly in your own mind, and they don't get said at that speed. So let's have a little go at doing some of these. So again, I'm going to use VIDS. I'm going to just move the camera just a little bit. Okay. And we'll have a little look. So I'll pop some of these underneath. So let's have a look. So, aujourd'hui, j'ai tellement la flemme de me faire à manger que j'ai préféré aller donner mon sang pour manger à la part de quiche offerte avec chaque dent. So, aujourd'hui, j'ai tellement la flemme de me faire à manger que j'ai préféré aller donner mon sang pour manger la part de quiche offerte avec chaque dent. So today, I so can't be bothered to cook for myself that I preferred to go and give blood, to eat the bit of quiche that's on offer, that's free, with every giving, donation of blood. So let's go through it. How would we go through it? Try looking at the camera, Luke. It would help. So aujourd'hui, no problem with that. We look at the word, we know the word aujourd'hui. J'ai tellement la flemme. So you would, step one, read this normally, focusing on vowels. You would, step two, just go through, even if you don't yet know what things mean, just go, right, I'm going to stress nouns. And adjectives. Your eyes can see what a noun and an adjective based on where it is in the sentence. So for example, la before it, it could be la and then a verb, like je la vois, I see her, but you can see if it's I have something, la something, you know that's going to be a noun. Good. So j'ai tellement la flemme. Tellement is like so, yeah, okay, in this context. So again, if that's a new word for you, okay, look it up, pop across onto word reference, then come up with two sentences with it. Luc is so weird. Luc, il est tellement sympa. Luc is so nice. Luc, il est tellement sympa. No, Luc est tellement bizarre. Luc est tellement sympa. Good. So you practice it in two sentences and that's got it in your mouth. La flemme. Okay, so look at the expression, j'ai tellement la flemme. Now notice when you look at words written down, you will spot a compound, but it doesn't mean that the compound is tellement, avoir tellement la flemme. That's just we've chosen to add an adverb into a compound. The expression is avoir la flemme, which is to not be bothered about doing something, all right? So in other words, avoir la flemme, recognize that although la flemme is obviously might be new words to you, avoir is a basic concept that we're comfortable with. So for example, I couldn't be bothered, j'avais la flemme de faire quelque chose. Look what comes next, there's a de. Look what was going on in your sentence. So, I couldn't be bothered to cook, j'avais pas la flemme, j'avais la flemme de faire à manger, or j'aurais la flemme de faire à manger. Whatever, just go into two different places. Lovely. De me faire à manger. Ah, we've got a bit of grammar. So we spot. Okay, so to make something for myself to eat. De me faire à manger. Play change one thing. So he couldn't be asked to make himself something to eat. Yeah, il a tellement la flemme de se faire à manger. You can't be bothered to make something for yourself to eat. Tu as la flemme de te faire à manger. So change one thing. Make it work for everybody, all right? Que j'ai préféré aller donner mon sang. That I preferred to go and give my blood. Sang, it's a noun. Did you know the word sang? Is that a basic word that you didn't know or not? No problem. If it is, come up with a sentence. Now, I always say there is and by get you out of most token sentences to practice. Il y a du sang. There's some blood. Yeah, okay. I can see the blood. Je peux voir le sang. Basic. I'm going to buy some blood. Not really. Lovely. La part de quiche, la part. So you'd go on to word reference, you'd look at what part means, or you'd have already copied and pasted the whole thing, and you'd like, part versus partie. What's the word for part? So we'd use it in a sentence. Offerte. That is an adjective. That is from a verb. So you'd look up offerte. You'd work out that the verb was offrir. You'd practice offrir in a couple of tenses. J'ai offert mes services. I offered my services. Je vais offrir mes services. You'd spot that offerte is an adjective. Okay? You'd spot it was a feminine adjective. Okay? Because you'd have looked at the masculine. So you then go, okay, it's offered, c'est offert. You then practice a feminine one. Don, word for a gift. So I'm going to buy a gift. It's more like a giving gift, like a donation rather than like a gift, as in un cadeau. So, thank you for your gift. Thank you for your donation. Alors, merci pour votre don, whatever it is. Okay? Come up with the token 2 sentences that use the noun. Next sentence. Aujourd'hui, n'arrivons pas à dormir à cause du chant des criquets qui me servent à nourrir mes lézards. Je secoue fort la boîte pour les faire taire. Tellement fort que le couvercle s'ouvre et qu'ils tombent tous par terre. Il est 3 heures du matin et la boîte contenait 250 criquets. At speed, normally, if we were doing a VIDS, normally I'd read that at normal speed, but that's just for the pronunciation. Aujourd'hui, n'arrivons pas à dormir à cause du chant des criquets qui me servent à nourrir mes lézards. That would be the normal reading speed, but off we go. Aujourd'hui, we know the word. N'arrivons pas, grammar, not being able to. So you'd look up arriver. You'd have copied and pasted the whole thing into Google Translate because you wouldn't be being a martyr, would you? You don't look up stuff individually unless you absolutely need to. And that would have said not being able to sleep or whatever, unable to sleep. And you'd go, oh, they're using the word arriver. You'd possibly then type arriver into my channel and go, oh, I wonder if Lukey's done a video about arriver meaning can. You can do all your normal research. But in other words, then you're working out what verb it is and you're working out that the grammar that we're using there is not being able to, the gerund, the ing. And apart from the verb to be, to have, and to know, all ing forms in French, whether they'll be used as gerunds or whether they be used as adjectives, are the same pronunciation as the nous form. So for example, we speak, nous parlons, in speaking, en parlant. We dance, nous dansons, nous finissons, we finish, in finishing, en finissant. Mindful that we don't say Luke is finishing his dinner. We don't say Luc est finissant. We say Luc finit. So fine then. So n'arrivons pas à dormir, unable to sleep. So fine, you'd go, arriver plus à. Do it in 2 tenses. I couldn't sleep. Je ne suis pas arrivé à dormir. Je ne vais pas arriver à dormir. Good. À cause du chant. Chant. You'd look it up. It's the noun, or you'd guess it from what's going on. It's the singing. It's the noun. Give me a sentence. A singing lesson. Un cours de chant. Okay. I like singing. J'aime le chant. Whatever. Okay, so you'd practice 2 token sentences straight away. Don't think, I'll remember it. No, you won't. Cricket, fine, not a common word, but there you go. So there is a cricket. Il y a un cricket. Same for the game. I'm going to buy some crickets. Je vais acheter des crickets. Fine. You might have a snake. It might be something you use regularly. You might be a vegan and opposed to the use of crickets, whatever, but just just come up with 2 sentences. Qui me servent à nourrir. So you go, which I can make use of to nourish my lizards. Now, don't feel that you have to put that together straight away. Just give yourself some sentences. Serve. I didn't realize. To serve. Okay, so look it up. Servir. J'ai servi. Je vais servir. Qui me serve. Okay, so what would be, which is going to help you, you're going to make use of to give your lizard something to. Qui te serve. Yeah, qui nous serve. Yeah, nourrir. Ah, I didn't know nourrir to nourish. Two verbs. J'ai nourri. Yeah, j'ai nourri, je vais nourrir, whoever you're going to nourish, all right? Lézard, word, noun. I can see a lizard. Je peux voir un lézard. Yeah, I'm going to buy a lizard. Je vais acheter un lézard. Straight away. We've got the verb to shake. Fine, same thing. Two tenses. I shook. I'm going to shake. We've got fort, as opposed to fortement. We often use fort as the adverb. So I strongly shake. Fort. Okay. He speaks like il parle fort. Whatever. Come up with two different verb tenses of it. La boîte, box. Didn't know boîte. Come up with one. I bought a box. So in other words, it's not the clever sentence that you need to do all of this. It's the you need to imagine visually a box as you're saying j'ai acheté la boîte. I bought the box. Je vais acheter une boîte. Il y a une boîte. You need to visually picture the thing you're talking about. All right. Good. Les faire taire. Okay, to be quiet. Okay, you practice that in two sentences of your own creation. Lovely. Good. Let's move on to another one. It's not about the examples, it's about what to do with stuff. Right, this is a good one. Aujourd'hui, après avoir examiné une plaie assez profonde que je me suis faite, mon médecin m'a demandé comment c'était arrivé. C'est avec honte que je lui ai avoué qu'après une lutte féroce et acharnée, mon rideau de douche avait finalement gagné. Okay? So basically, today, after having examined a nasty cut quite deep that I'd given myself, my doctor asked me how it had happened. And it was with shame that I confessed to him, or confessed to her, although to him, because that it was like a nasty and fierce fight. My shower curtain had finally won. So fine, you go through. Après avoir examiné. Oh, and so the translation, none of this is about working out what it means. That will be done with the Google Translate, all right? So, after examining, après avoir examiné, I see what you did. So you used après, then you used the auxiliary, then you used the past. So change one thing. After speaking, après avoir parlé. After dancing, après avoir dansé. Change one thing. Une plaie, fine. Word for a cut. Une plaie, he has a cut. Il a une plaie. Okay? You wouldn't buy a cut. I mean, like I say, most things can be got out of with il y a and acheté, but fine. Or I see, or there, or he has. Really, between he has, I see, there is, you've got enough to be practicing the word. So it's not about clever sentences. It's about your brain using two alternatives with you visualizing that word. That's what it is. So, mon médecin m'a demandé. Fine, my doctor asked me. Change one thing. Mon médecin lui a demandé. Asked him. Mon médecin t'a demandé. Change one thing. Honte. We look at honte. Ooh, we didn't know what honte was. Yeah, honte is shame. Okay? La honte. Fine. If you need any examples other than the basic sentences that you're coming up with, I strongly recommend reverso. I strongly recommend any of these websites, and then you can just read examples. But basically, I need you to be saying everything that you're reading in your reading work out loud with two alternatives. That's the theme of the video. All right? Good. Let's do another one. Gosh, a lot's gone up since yesterday. There was one that I wanted to use, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. What should we do? Let's find a nice one. Lovely. Aujourd'hui, cela fait 2 ans que je fantasme sur ma sublime prof de théâtre. Ce matin, lors d'un exercice d'improvisation, nous devions mettre en scène le désir sexuel. Je n'ai pas pu m'empêcher de la regarder et c'est moi qui ai été le plus convaincant. Today, it's for 2 years, so I've fantasized about my sublime theatre teacher for 2 years. This could be from Macron, who his beloved Brigitte was his theatre teacher. his drama teacher, this morning, during an improvisation exercise, we had to embody sexual desire. I wasn't able to stop myself from looking at her, and it was me that was the most convincing. So, cela fait 2 ans que je fantasme. That makes 2 years that I fantasize. As opposed to in English, I have fantasized for 2 years. So spot the pattern. Notice that cela sometimes could be ça, but that's fine. You could practice it with cela. You're not expected to know it could be something else. So you go, oh, okay. So Google Translate would have told you, cela fait 2 ans que je fantasme. That makes 2 years that I fantasize. Google Translate will tell you, I fantasized for 2 years. So you go, right, so I've learned French for 2 years. So same structure, cela fait plus the present. Change one thing. So, cela fait 2 ans que j'apprends le français. Or, ça fait 2 ans que j'apprends le français. Ma sublime, fine, sublime. New adjective, fine, practice it. Elle est sublime, c'est sublime. Just practice it, get it in your mouth. Prof de théâtre, okay, fine, nothing great there, nothing we probably don't know about prof de théâtre. Ce matin, we know that. Lors de, at the time of, during, lors de. 2 examples, please. Lors de la réunion, the time of the meeting, during the meeting. Yes, fine, there might be other words you come across, you might go, but I thought that was pendant, Lukey. I thought that, fine, there's loads of ways of saying stuff. Okay? Exercice, we know the word exercice. If we didn't, c'est un exercice, it's an exercise. I'm going to do an exercise. Je vais faire un exercice. Nous devions mettre, verb in question, devions, to have to, fine. If it's a verb that you're not comfortable with, play with it. Go to word reference. Go to the conjugator. Please, 2 of the sentences. Lovely. Le désir, desire. Lovely. Practice it. Okay. Empêcher, to prevent. Fine. Change one thing. He wasn't able to prevent himself. Il n'a pas pu s'empêcher. Yeah. Whatever. Change one thing. So all in all then, what I'm basically saying is if you come across a noun, can you please just give it me in 2 different sentences of your own creation? It doesn't matter how simple they are. If you come across a verb, can you come across with it in 2 different tenses of your own creation? If you need to check that out, go to thewordreference.com. If you come across a compound form, by all means, can you basically just look what's going on, visually sort of circle it with your mind, go, okay, so that's that word. Okay, look what's on the left. Look what's on the right. Do we have reflexives? Do we have prepositions? They're staying the same. Only the verb tense changes. So you then change it. Yeah. So for example, like I said, faire partie de, I was part of. Keep faire partie de, exactly the same. Je faisais partie de. All right. And come up with it. So in other words, just saying everything out loud, well done, great, already going to help you. And if you can't say everything out loud, quite honestly, it means you're it means your reading is shit. And there's no need for it to be shit, because some of my best readers were my worst readers when I started working with them. Really, really, really. I give you my girl Tess. An atrocious accent when we first started, an absolutely sublime one now. So it's this concept of what are you going to use your reading material for to really make this stuff stick. And it can't just be having read it out loud. It's got to be, you need to sort of repurpose the words that you're hearing into 2 sentences straight away. Minimum. You don't need to be spending all of your life looking stuff up, because you will copy and paste. Now, on VIDS, if you're using it from a PC or otherwise, if you just literally click on it, it will then go into a page that's easy to copy and paste it from, and then back page it, so to speak, rather than trying to select it in the actual main page, because it's just a bit weird. It's got some it's just a bit awkward. Lovely. So that's basically what everybody that I teach who's really making amazing progress does. It's all it is. They just come up with a minimum of 2 alternatives to every single thing they've got. You think a word is going to stay in your brain. It won't. Yeah? It absolutely won't. It really won't, unless you have used it and manipulated it yourself. Absolutely. Final point, when you manipulate it and use it yourself, take your eyes away from the screen. Take your eyes away from the screen. I don't want you looking at it going, okay? Anything you can say, you need to be able to say without the visual, because otherwise you will be lost when people speak to you. So I hope this has been useful. Like I said, everybody who I work with who makes a crazy amount of progress does this. Yeah? It's great to read. It's great to read out loud. It's great to kind of understand French. But the goal is not for you to understand the French. The goal is you can understand the French at a click. Yeah. What your goal is to get used to using these things and to practice them so that they stay with you. You don't want to be spending time on vocabulary that you are then going to have to read again. All right. All my love. Best wishes. Take care.